"You can't take that through here, sir." The TSA agent's voice was firm, dismissive, as his hand hovered over the polished mahogany casket draped in the American flag. The man he was speaking to did not flinch. Standing at rigid attention, dressed in the pristine black and blue ceremonial uniform of the United States Army 3rd Infantry Regiment, a tomb guard, known simply as the Sentinel, turned his head slowly, white-gloved hands resting on the casket's edge, unshaken and silent. Travelers in Terminal B of Dallas-Fort Worth International paused. The line at security had stalled. Whispers began to ripple as people realized this wasn't an ordinary flight check-in. The Sentinel was escorting the remains of Corporal Nathaniel Briggs, a 22-year-old Marine killed in action during a humanitarian mission in East Africa. His mother waited at Gate 29 to meet his body. But this wasn't just a transportation of remains. This was a sacred ritual, one bound in decades of military tradition, precision, and reverence. Still, the staff insisted, "Sir, you'll need to remove your gloves and step away from the container." The Sentinel didn't speak. He simply reached into his chest pocket and produced a folded document. Department of Defense Transport Authorization, signed and sealed. A second TSA supervisor approached, clearly unsure. "We still need to scan the case." A woman behind the agent muttered, "That's a flag-draped coffin. You don't scan that." A Marine veteran in the terminal stood, slowly removing his cap. "You don't touch it either." The stillness deepened. Even airport workers nearby, janitors, baristas, gate agents, paused to watch. The tomb guard did not raise his voice, did not argue. Instead, he maintained his silent vigil beside the casket, as he had trained to do in rain, wind, and snow every second of every day at Arlington National Cemetery. Minutes passed, then a voice crackled over the PA system. "Ladies and gentlemen, we ask for your attention in Terminal B. A military escort is in progress." Silence fell over the entire concourse. A flight was delayed. Nobody moved. A manager finally arrived, looked at the documents, looked at the soldier, and nodded. The Sentinel resumed his slow ceremonial march. Every step measured. Every movement is flawless. The casket glided forward on a rolling cart, draped in black. No security scan, no further questions. Travelers stood aside, many placing hands over their hearts. Veterans saluted. One child whispered to his mother, "Why are they so quiet?" "Because that man's a guardian," she replied, "and the one he's guarding gave his life." Behind the Sentinel followed a Marine staff sergeant, Corporal Briggs's former squad leader. His uniform bore fresh crease lines, his eyes held pain, but he walked tall behind the fallen. Not once did he wipe the tear that slipped down his cheek. A woman clutched her boarding pass, frozen. A pilot paused at a nearby gate and stood at attention. Airline staff lowered their heads. For the first time all day, the terminal was still. 10 minutes had passed since the first challenge at the checkpoint. 10 minutes, and now over 200 people stood in silence. Not from instruction, from instinct. Because some moments are beyond procedure. They're bound by sacrifice. Word spread fast. A Navy officer waiting at baggage claim recorded the entire scene. The video, titled "Terminal Comes to a Halt for a Hero," went viral within hours. But the Sentinel never saw it. He doesn't do this for cameras. He does it for the unknown soldier. For every name carved into white stone. For every family waiting at a gate with a folded flag in their lap. Later, news outlets tried to contact the Sentinel for comment. The US Army simply responded, he was doing his duty. But the impact lingered. The image of him standing, hand over the flag-draped casket, TSA demanding he move aside, and his unflinching silence became a symbol of dignity in the face of bureaucracy. An unspoken reminder that honor still walks among us, sometimes in white gloves and a quiet stare. As the procession neared the gate, Corporal Briggs's mother stood, trembling. The tomb guard stopped, lowered his head, and remained still as she approached her son's casket. She placed one hand gently over the flag. "Thank you," she whispered, not just to her son, but to the man who brought him home like royalty. The gate agent, eyes misty, announced boarding. No zone numbers, no priority groups. Just one request. Please allow the family of Corporal Nathaniel Briggs and his escort to board first. Nobody moved, not out of hesitation, but respect. That day, the tomb guard returned to Arlington. The Marines returned to their base. The flag was folded and handed to Corporal Briggs' mother with reverence. But the stillness they left behind in that terminal remains. A reminder to all who were there that some uniforms don't just represent service. They represent eternal vigilance, even when questioned, even when challenged. And sometimes, just one soldier can bring an entire terminal and a country back to attention. Before we end this story, let us know in the comment, where are you watching from? If this story touched you, subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and drop a karma in the comments below.